In continuation with the previous video, let's see few more questions related to the topic respiration. Our first question today is describe the process of respiration in human beings. Children, we all know that human beings carry out aerobic respiration, and for this purpose they use a set of organs. So the answer we can write like this: human respiratory system involves different organs during this process. This process means respiration process. So first of all, it gets started with the entry of air into the nose. So the first organ involved is the nose. Air enters into the two openings of the nose, that is nostrils, which open into nasal cavity. Children, we all know that nasal cavity or nasal chambers play a very important role here. It warms the air as the air passes over. Then it adds moisture to the air, and at the same time the mucus which is being secreted through the nasal chamber or the nasal cavity entraps harmful particles present in the air, and that is why we are advised to breathe through the nose and not through the mouth, because in our mouth we don't have such type of facilities. Now from nose, air enters into the pharynx. Nasal cavity at the rear end opens into a void cavity called as pharynx. Pharynx actually is the common passage for air and food. Now let's see what happens when air reaches in the pharynx. From pharynx, air enters into a short tubular structure called as trachea or windpipe. Its walls are provided with C-shaped rings of cartilage which provide flexibility and keep the trachea distended permanently. Children, let me remind you that the opening of trachea is guarded by a muscular flap called as epiglottis, which closes at the time of swallowing food. Food pipe is just behind the windpipe, and they both have common opening, and that is why trachea has to have something there which prevent food particle from entering into the windpipe, and that is done with the help of epiglottis. Now let's see what happens when the air reaches into the trachea. So from trachea or windpipe, air passes through two tubes, and these two tubes are actually branching from the trachea itself, and these are called as bronchi. These tubes are called as bronchi, which enters into the respective lungs. On entering into the lungs, each bronchus, children, bronchus is singular, bronchi is plural. Each bronchus divides and redivides into fine branches called as bronchioles. Now let's see the another organs involved in the human respiratory system. Lungs. Lungs are the main respiratory organs. We have two lungs. The lungs are a pair of spongy and elastic organs present in the thoracic cavity. Inside lungs, bronchioles end up into numerous bag-like structure, that is the air sacs called as alveoli. Children, lungs contain millions of alveoli. Now, alveoli has to play a very significant role here. Walls of alveoli are moist and at the same time extremely thin. Extremely thin means made up of one cell thickness is present over there. You can just imagine how thin is. And the walls of alveoli are also surrounded with a network of blood capillaries. And both these things, that is the moistness and extreme thinness of the walls of alveoli, and the fact that the walls are surrounded with the blood capillaries, facilitate easy diffusion of gases, and this is how gaseous exchange occurs there. So we can say that alveoli are the main area or the main site where exchange of gases take place. And now you can understand how important alveoli are for respiration. Here you must understand that the oxygen which gets diffused into the blood from alveoli is carried by the hemoglobin present in the blood to the various body cells. Where oxidation of food occurs, we all know that for oxidation, oxygen is very much important, essential. After oxidation of food, carbon dioxide is released. Carbon dioxide present in the blood reaches to the alveoli, and during exhalation, alveoli absorb carbon dioxide, which will be thrown out of our body following the same route which we have discussed right now. So this is how respiration occurs in human beings. Let's move to the next question. Describe respiration in different animals. Children, different animals respire through different body parts. For example, let's see how insects respire. Insects like cockroaches, grasshoppers, etc. breathe through air holes called as spiracles and air tubes called as tracheae. Spiracles are present on the body surface, which open and close to allow gases to move in or move out of the insect body. Oxygen-rich air enters the tracheal tubes through spiracles and reaches every cell of the insect body. Similarly, carbon dioxide from the cells enters into the tracheal tubes and finally moves out through the spiracles. So this is how respiration occurs in case of insects. Some other organisms such as earthworms, leeches, etc. absorb oxygen from air in their blood through their thin, moist skin. Their skin is extremely thin, moist, and the skin is richly supplied with the blood capillaries. And similarly, they release carbon dioxide also through their skin itself into the atmosphere. Now let's see what happens in case of frogs. Children, frogs show dual mode of respiration. Dual mode means two types of respiration. They can respire through two ways, we can say. When in water, they breathe through their skin. Their skin is also moist and very thin, like those of earthworm. So they can breathe through their skin when they are inside water. Whereas when they are on land, They breathe through their lungs. They also have lungs in their body like us, but the difference is that their lungs are not so well developed as ours are. And because of this capability of living both inside in the water as well as on the land, they are called as amphibians. Now let's see about aquatic animals. Aquatic animals such as fish, tadpole, etc. have special respiratory organs which are called as gills. Gills are made up of a large number of fine capillaries containing blood vessels which absorb dissolved oxygen present in water and carry it to the body tissues. You must have seen fish opening and closing its mouth alternatively. So as soon as water enters into the mouth and passes over the gills, oxygen which is dissolved in the water is absorbed over there, and finally it is carried to the body tissues. The same blood vessels also bring back carbon dioxide from the cells to the gills. Gills pass this carbon dioxide to the surrounding water. So this is how respiration occurs in case of aquatic animals such as fish. Children, let's move to the next question. How do plants respire? State the role of various plant parts in this process. The same question can be asked in this form. Explain the exchange of gases in plants. So for both of these questions, we can have the common answer. Let's see how can we start our answer. Respiration in plants takes place through different parts such as leaves, stems and roots. So children, we can say that gaseous exchange in plants can occur through leaves, stems and roots. Let's see what structures are present in these plant parts for exchange of gases. Students, leaves of the plants have minute openings called as stomata, which occur in large numbers on the lower surface. These stomata open and close to allow gaseous exchange. What do? They let in carbon dioxide for photosynthesis and release oxygen into the atmosphere. Whereas during respiration, they let in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. Children, each stoma is surrounded by a pair of guard cells. Stoma is the singular of stomata. The closing and opening of stomata are on account of the movement of water in and out of the guard cells. When water enters into the guard cells, it becomes turgid and stoma gets open. When water comes out of the guard cells lose their turgidity and ultimately the stoma gets closed. So this is how gaseous exchange occur in plant body through leaves with the help of guard cells. Let's see what happens in stems. Actually, the young green stems contain the stomata itself for a gaseous exchange, but woody stems have special pores again, which are called as lenticels, for exchange of gases. The next part which helps plant to respire is roots. We all know that roots remain under the soil and the air which is trapped in between the swell particle diffuses in the roots with the help of the thin layer of cells present on its outer surface called as epiblema. So air enters inside, that is the air diffuses in and diffuses out through that thin layer of cells present on the outer surface of the roots. Diffusion, as we all know, that is the movement of gases from the region of its higher concentration to the region of its lower concentration. So this is how different plant parts help in gaseous exchange.